a.m. And you can check us out, 900 a.m., 96.1 FM. Again, that's if you're in the city of Philly, but have no fear if not. There are tons of ways that you can listen and follow the show and all the great programming here on WURD. All day, everybody will be talking about the same thing, I suspect, but from many, many different angles and vantage points. So to follow along, download the app in the App Store. That's WURD Radio. You can also go to WURDradio.com. Listen to the stream. Just let it just play out throughout your day in the background as you are working from home, Zooming, or whatever it is that you do. You can also become a part of the interactive conversation on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. And we're happy to have you here this morning. And sitting across from me in his virtual half of this studio is Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And the glue that holds it all together, who makes the show go, is none other than Kawesa in studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up, Kawesa? How was your ride in today?
It was not bad. Really wasn't that bad, so I can't complain. The weather it feels good today. I think that a lot of us, collectively had a sigh of relief, so when I walked out, I just took a nice deep breath. So it was, but the ride wasn't bad. And yeah, it's like I said, the weather's not too bad either. Not really any traffic. And yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, listen, if you are out today, just know that there going to be some real freaky weather in the Northeast, but that kind of goes along with the mood of the day as well. So be careful. They're talking about potential hail, even low tornado threats in our parts. And if you're a little bit further north, you already know this by now, it's snowing here in April. But yeah, I guess that's hell freezing over.
I was getting ready to say that that's indicative of the moment.
Right. When will a white cop in Minnesota be convicted of killing a black man? When hell freezes over, or when it snows in the Northeast at the end of April.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Boston gets snow late, but not Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York.
Yep. So listen, folks, we talked about it all day yesterday. By the way, hit the share button if you're listening on Facebook Live. Let's get those share numbers up so that we can get other people in on this conversation. And likewise on YouTube, let folk know that you are listening. We want to continue to grow this audience because we happen to think this is a pretty good place to have these kind of conversations as we reflect on the news of the day. So, boy, yesterday, Derek Chauvin found guilty. All three charges. And I think what shocked everybody is how fast it happened.
Yeah.
In a total of 10 hours, I was thoroughly expecting this to drag out another day or two, a bunch of questions back and forth to the judge about, can you re-explain second degree versus third degree? They had no questions for the judge. And when they came back, you got to think, actually, they were probably ready much earlier in the day. And the judge probably, knowing how this judge has operated, watching him, I would suspect, probably said, take a little bit more time, right?
Right.
And so I think most watchers thought the same thing, that coming back that fast, it's going to be unanimous on all three. There doesn't even seem to be any debate. Heck, they were probably ready to convict him when the 10-year-old girl testified.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that young girl was very convincing. And the fact that there was also, was it an 8-year-old boy too? Somebody had said basically they were killing him. I mean, a child recognized what was going on. And I think people, when you see a child that completely understands what's happening in that moment, you just have to believe them.
Yeah. So how you feeling this morning about all this?
So, I mean, here's a couple things. I know a lot of people are really happy and, feel like there was victory here. I think the system did its job, but I don't think there was any justice done. At the end of the day, George Floyd's still dead. His daughter will now be raised without a parent, a father, to love on her and to help her grow into the woman that she's intended to be. And I'm just I said yesterday, Power had a service last night, a service lament for Black Lives. And I said yesterday, the court did its job. The Minnesota Attorney General and team, Keith Ellison, did their job. The jury did their job, but we can't equate doing their jobs with justice. There is no justice in this circumstance. And I said real justice will come when we do not need to have our eyes glued to the television watching for a trial, where we do not need to do hashtag say their name, when we do not need to have anxiety going through the roof while we're waiting for the verdict to be read after announced it was in. True justice will come when we don't have to do the rallies, and we don't have to do the actions, and we don't have to do the Twitter activism, because nobody will be killed by the police. That's when real justice will arrive. So, that's where my head is right now. I'm actually more interested in the fact that in this moment, I think I talked about this yesterday. I'm not as interested in taking to the streets as I am to making sure the CPOC gets fully funded. With $20 million to make sure that we're actually able to hold police accountable. That's, to me, justice. When the police can be held accountable, when we make sure that we're figuring out ways for less police on the street, and we're actually providing the services that people really need for public safety, work that Power's doing right now. That, to me, is justice. I am not interested in empty political rhetoric right now. I am not interested in, people feigning false care in this moment, like some of our Philadelphia politicians have done, while they call in the National Guard and try to militarize our city. I'm not interested in any of that. What I'm interested in is real systemic change that actually has the capacity to impact our communities in a way that makes them safer for the people that live in them and make them more wholesome.
Yeah, yeah. So, yesterday when the verdict came down, I was so they said that it would be announced within an hour and a half. Yeah, at that time they said within an hour to an hour and a half. So I started listening to the NPR feed, and actually I was listening to someone else, but NPR is a better feed because they just, it's just less, hype. And so I'm sitting there listening to it. And an hour in, man, I just started becoming extremely emotional. I mean, and I was surprised by it. Just the weight of it, tears just started coming down.
Yeah.
And I just left a restaurant, so I was by myself on the bike about to jump on. I just kind of stayed there. I didn't want to miss anything. And so the couple of young white ladies walked by me, and like at this point, you couldn't tell I was emotional or anything. I'm just listening, and I'm like on some steps, and one starts talking, so I take the earbud out. She said, "Are you listening for the verdict?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She says, "Oh my God, we're praying. We're praying for guilty. We're praying." And I mean, so that kind of sent me over at that point, recognizing that, there are these moments where you forget that, especially as Black people in this moment, that there are people out there who have come alongside, who recognize the injustice in not only George Floyd's killing, but so many of these stories. And so when the verdict actually came down, I mean, honest to God, I thought all along I would rejoice that this would be one of those moments where, I'm texting people and digital high-fiving. Man, I just couldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
I mean, just the feeling of, initially I thought it was kind of like the impact. You and I were in Ferguson together. You got there, a day or two before me. And so walking the streets of Ferguson, which to me really was really like, I mean, you go back to Trayvon and others as well before Ferguson, but Ferguson was where we first heard the chant Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And it was kind of the beginning of this particular moment. And the last 7 years of all of the marches, all the actions, all the demonstrations, just all of the heaviness of it, the pain of Mike Brown's mom not even getting an indictment on Darren Wilson, who killed her son.
Mm-hmm.
Her scream. Tanya Brown Dickerson. The Briscoe family that I know very close in South Jersey, whose nephew was killed at Wawa by a cop. I mean, just like all these stories. And I'm just telling you, bro, it took me a while to pull my stuff together.
I hear you. I mean, part of this for me too is that while he was found guilty yesterday, we still don't know what the sentence is going to be. And the sentence is actually where justice has met it out, right? I mean, one of the conditions of this is a $20,000 fine, which he could potentially get away with. I mean, I don't think he'll get away with that alone, but I think that that's important to recognize and to understand as well, that there are implications all the way through, right? So there's the sentencing phase, and then there's the potential for appeal, because the judge said that Maxine Waters' statement in Brooklyn Center has the potential to be an appealable reason to appeal any guilty verdict in the case. So, while this moment is a moment of a supposed relief, in reality, the legal system is not done. And I think we have to be, we would be a tad foolish to think that they are not going to appeal this, which then it causes the drama to occur all over again. And if he should happen to get a new trial, I mean, that's a whole nother story that would happen with this. So, I just think we have to, I think I'm perhaps somewhat sour because I know this process is not over. I know that we still have to go. And while this trial was occurring, while all this evidence was coming out, we had 2 people that were killed by the police. And then the third one, a young girl, was killed right before the verdict was announced in Columbus, Ohio. A young black girl, 15 years old, was killed right by the police right before the verdict was announced. And I mean, we're still waiting for some more details on that particular circumstance. So, I'm glad that the system worked. I don't know that we've gotten justice yet.
Well, yeah. So let's be clear. So yesterday, I said this, right? I mean, this has been my take all along. I know people were skeptical. I was never skeptical that this jury would come back with anything but a guilty verdict. I said that on my closing yesterday. Stood by that because I felt like, you had so much evidence, and you had the video with Chauvin with his hands in his pocket, looking smug, and who wants to be the jury responsible for America, burning down, another time, a third time in a year? They didn't want that smoke, right? And so I don't think I think it was a no-brainer that this jury came back and said yes. But, there are 3 more steps to this. There must be adequate proper sentencing. He must then actually go to jail, and then he must serve out the sentence. So, I mean, we can kind of rejoice on this one like 15 or 20 years from now.
Right.
When we look back and say, oh, he actually did serve the time, right?
Right.
And so I mean, there's so much more to this because, as we know, these diversionary programs come out, great things that we never heard of, that we never get the benefit of. And so, and this judge, he could be like a referee. You know how refs are in a game where they feel like one ref gave a bad call to the other team. So they kind of like on their own, like, I'm going to correct it and I'm going to call the other team for something to even things out. So he could possibly be thinking, I'm going to use this moment to fix. I'm gonna fix because I felt like Maxine Waters and others, made this jury do something that they, rushed into something that they probably would not have. So I'm going to sentence him a little lighter than the recommendations and guidelines call for.
Well, I mean, the other thing, in putting out the statement about Maxine Waters was making a statement and a very brief statement, but also that prosecution team was excellent. They were just really on par. I mean, they really laid out a case, and I think that diminishes the work and that the AG team put in place. So, we'll have to figure all those pieces out. So we have some work that's ahead of us. to be able to we'll have to be able to figure out what happens next and how we continue to move through this process so that we can get to a place of real justice, real opportunity. It's very unfortunate that all these other deaths occurred during this trial. 2 men, 1 young girl, 1 white girl before the verdict was read. Deeply troubling, deeply painful that occurred. So we are trying to figure out where we go from here, how we deal with this verdict, the aftermath of the verdict, the struggle of the verdict, and how our communities are going to be able to move forward in this moment. And then, a lot of people are saying, well, this is the way that we're going to move forward by holding police accountable. I want to see that happen. A lot of folk were saying, well, this is the first time in Minneapolis that a police officer has been held accountable for killing a black woman, a black person, and that is correct. But there's also a police officer prior to this that was held accountable for killing a white woman. So, what does that mean? That all the black folk that have been killed in Minneapolis, and there have been numerous by the police, we can go back to Philandale Castile. There are other cases that prior to that where this occurred. What does it mean that in this moment, that we have this white officer that's being held accountable, but they had no problem holding an officer of color easily accountable prior to for the killing of a white woman at the hands of the police department. So I don't know. We will have to figure that out. In the meantime, we are up. Oh, good.
No, I'm back, but I just don't have I got the blue screen of death on my computer. That's all.
Oh, wow.
I think it was the judge in Minnesota because Cahill didn't like what I was saying about him.
FBI, Secret Service, somebody's coming after you, bro.
No, it's Cahill. It's Cahill, man. Look, hey, but when we come back from break, we do have to talk about Columbus because you might not have seen it, but they actually released the body cam footage.
Oh, wow.
And I saw it, and let me just say, first of all, it's horrifying. There's a 15-year-old girl dead, and she's not going to come back. But it is not what family and quote unquote eyewitnesses said yesterday. They got the community up in arms, and we have to talk about it on the other side. And again, we can't be like the news media, which is get it first. You have to get it right, not get it first. Mm-hmm. And that's really important. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. This is the Power Hour. Hit the share button. Bring your friends and your family into this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We are people of resilience, so let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
WURD Radio 2021 Level Up winner Anissa Smith is hosting her Black Food and Dessert Expo April 23rd, 24th, and 25th at the Urban Ridge, located at 5261 Ridge Avenue in Philadelphia. Titled The Spring Pop-Up Experience, is a power hour of sampling delicious food and drinks from one of the local chefs and bakers. Come taste and shop and have an amazing time in unity, safely together. The Black Food and Dessert Expo are excited to offer a place for consumers to shop safely while supporting Black-owned businesses. Safety is the #1 concern. This is a mask-required event, except when you're sampling the food, of course. They have built-in 1-hour breaks to properly clean and sanitize the venue in between shop blocks. All guests will have their temperature taken before entry, and sanitizer and hand wipes will be available throughout the venue. To purchase tickets, go to the letter B, fadetickets.com. Again, that's bfadetickets.com. See you all for the Black Food and Dessert Expo Spring Pop-Up Experience. See you there.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations, because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
The Philadelphia Flyers are partnering with the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium to help end the COVID-19 pandemic. The city of Philadelphia is in this together. So protect yourself, protect others, and get vaccinated. Philadelphia can win this one. Take your shot. Visit PhiladelphiaFlyers.com for more information.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinion. And we have plenty of those. We are continuing our ongoing discussion this morning around the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial, and indeed the issues around the taking of black lives extrajudiciously by police across the country. And you mentioned that you wanted to talk about what happened in Columbus yesterday.
Yeah. First of all, shout out to Terrell Dickerson, Brandon Tate Brown's dad, who is listening this morning to the program. Give Tanya our best. We know that this is a really hard time for families like yours who've lost people to police violence and who have not, in this case, received the justice that the family was seeking. I always like to, remind folk they didn't even get the benefit of a trial, right? So so the other big story that came out yesterday was the tragic shooting death by a police officer of what was reported to be a 15-year-old who is now known was a 16-year-old, Micaiah Bryant, in Columbus. And in these moments, you all, and Bishop, you and I, we know this, we've learned this the hard way, that sometimes you have to have some patience in this. And while it is tempting to run out and to show up with protest signs and banners unfurled, and because something seems to fit a particular narrative that we want it to, you have to let things play out for a minute first. Now, Columbus police went through the extraordinary everybody's releasing body cam footage now. Philadelphia did it with Walter Wallace. They had never done that before in Philadelphia, unbelievably. And so Columbus police actually released the body cam footage last night of a shooting that happened yesterday at about 4 p.m. Officers were called to a home of reports of a girl stabbing and laying hands on people. So they attempting to stab and laying hands on people. So they're coming in looking for someone with a knife. That's what the call is. This is not, you're called for, people arguing on the street. The officers show up, the body cam footage is on. Now, I want to walk you back, because initial reports were there was a family member who was quoted in the paper saying, yeah, she had a knife, but it was on the ground when she was shot. That was widely reported in national and international news outlets in writing. Those stories are still out there. There were stories by others who called themselves eyewitnesses who said she didn't even have a knife. They just came and just shot her for no reason. And those were stories that many of us had last night, 9, 10 o'clock, as we were trying to get our heads around what happened in Minnesota. And then this morning when we woke up, the body cam footage is available. It's on YouTube. We'll put it in the chat there. And it is very disturbing, and I know a lot of folk won't watch it. I have seen it. So let me tell you what I saw if you want to watch it yourself, but I just want you to hear I don't have a dog in this fight. When the officers show up, They're talking to two young ladies who are not right there in the middle of it. And to their right, all of a sudden, it just explodes. And a young woman, Ma'Khia Bryant, has a knife and lunges at one of the girls and knocks her to the ground, and then turns her attention swiftly to another young girl and has the knife raised and is literally in a motion with it, looking like she's trying to do harm with her. The officer is yelling, "Get down, get down, get down, get down." And before she can, hit her with the knife, he shoots her and kills her. This is absolutely horrifying, but it is not what family said or what initial eyewitnesses said. And when you're thrown in that, and listen, what I'm telling you happened in, God, I didn't even try to time it, but it couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 seconds from the time the first girl falls to the time she gets shot. And if you're there and you don't know who is who, but you see a person attacking two people with a knife and you're trying to save the life of the other person, what do you do in that moment, right? Do you let the other person get stabbed first, potentially killed? I just think that in these moments where violence is out of control in our communities, that we have to be careful even in our activism to recognize that the recipients of much of this wanton violence in our communities is also Black folk, like in this story, 2 Black girls. I don't even know who was responsible for what, if these girls were attacking her or what. I just know, looking at the body cam footage, that those officers walked into something that you had a split second to decide, and making the wrong decision may have also led to a person being stabbed to death.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think I am like,
and it was, I'm sorry, and to Anthony Young's point, who saw it was not a little knife either. It was a huge butcher knife. It was a big knife.
Yeah.
Oh, you could see it. You could see it all. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was watching the video. I couldn't see it actually, but the video was grainy that I was looking at. So, this actually just speaks to a whole lot of issues that are prevalent as a result of white supremacy and the manifestation that it takes on our communities. The disinvestment, the lack of care, the frustration, angst, the trauma that continually builds up over and over again. And, it's actually funny. I used to really hate it when people always talked about trauma this, trauma that. But when you really look at it, it is traumatic. Somebody, I forgot the name of the psychiatrist that quoted post-traumatic slavery disorder, as being a piece that really impacts the African-American community. I think we could talk about post-traumatic Jim Crow disorder and post-traumatic James Crow Esquire disorder. The lack of opportunity, the lack of education, the lack of health care, the lack of systems that care deeply and love on Black folk is really the root cause of many of these things. And, it's painful that, fixing one is not going to fix and help to heal our community. It's all got to be fixed. And so when I hear about this young lady, I don't know what caused her to be in foster care. I don't know, what caused her to be this angry and this frustrated and this hurt at this age, that she felt like she had to defend herself in this way. But I know, just like with the situation with Adam Toledo in Chicago, we failed her. Somewhere along the line, she was failed. And that is the tragedy of this moment.
Well, I don't know about, I don't know. And again, I'm not going to speak on what I don't know. Mm-hmm. All right. Because I don't know if she was the aggressor. I don't know if she was, honestly, when she fell on the ground, there's a young adult Black male who then starts kicking the girl who's on the ground, like trying to stomp her. And once Ma'Khia is shot, he starts yelling at the cop, "She's an effing girl, man. She's a kid. She's an effing kid. She's an effing kid." First of all, she doesn't, again, if I'm walking up on there, she doesn't look like a child, right? So she looks like a young woman just from, it's a blur. It all is happening really fast. And all you see is a person with a knife attacking another person. You've been called because you heard somebody's there stabbing someone. What I was getting at earlier, though, is that that our movement has to be laser focused around the issue of public safety. Public safety is how we've been talking about this with Empower, Live Free, right? So it's not just police reform, but it is about what public safety means. It's about making sure that like our elders in our community are safe on their stoop in the summer. That, you know, that like the young child who got shot in Philadelphia the other day in the kitchen because somebody shot somebody outside of the house that the child was in, that it's about that as well, right? And public safety is a totally different thing. So I'm saying if I am about to be stabbed by somebody and I called the police and they show up, you know, what you don't want is the movement to have made cops so paranoid that they don't save your life in that moment. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm like, are there other options? I mean, like everybody's saying, so there's a bunch of folk. Joanne Kemp and other people asking the question, where was the taser? Where was the taser?
So again, now listen, I'm telling you, man, this is a strange time we're in. So if you talk to folk in the movement, and I'm allied with a lot of these folk, that there is a movement to get rid of tasers altogether. That people in the movement don't want tasers. They're saying tasers are not non-lethal, and I agree, they're less lethal, but they're saying we don't want tasers. I'm like, well, to me, I think you want a stop between a gun and like nothing, right? That's what at least what I think. They're saying they don't want body cams. Now, you wouldn't have been able to make the case in the George Floyd, decision without that body cam footage, right? And so where's the taser? Listen, folks, again, if you're going to talk about this, the Ma'Khia Bryant shooting, then I'm telling you, you owe it to yourself and to her and to that community to watch the video yourself first. And then you can ask those questions. This happened in a matter of seconds. And in seconds, a cop thinks he is trying to save the life of a person. And I hear all of you could have shot her in the leg, you could have done this, you could have done that. I don't know about that, but I'm certain that right now, whoever the parent of the young woman who got away is probably feeling bad about this young lady dying, but also thinking like, I'm glad my daughter didn't get stabbed to death.
Well, I hear that. Well, let me just say this. So Tawanda actually brought up a point on Facebook, which I was actually going to try to get to, which is the fact that black girls are over-identified as adults more, and both black boys are as well. And, if you realize that you're dealing with a teenager, granted they had a knife in their hand, where's the nightstick that knocked the knife out the hand? I mean, I know what you're saying. Look, hear what I'm saying, though. Hear what I'm saying.
You don't know that he walks into a scene. The first time he sees her is when he looks to the right and she is charging a person, not through the door, charging a person, knocking that person to the ground with a knife, and then swinging immediately and pinning the other. She had her pinned on the car with a knife raised. He doesn't know. I mean, I understand the adultification of teens. I understand theoretically everything y'all are talking about. But what I'm saying is, in that moment, there is a person who is not just threatening bodily harm with fighting someone, but with a butcher knife raised, looking like they are about to stab the person.
I hear you. I understand that. And yet, I think if we go upstream, I'm going to ask the question, how did we fail this young girl? She shouldn't be dead, bottom line. She shouldn't have been going after somebody with a knife, but she shouldn't be dead either. And I think that is the issue at the end of the day for me. I think we can look at the issue, and this is a policing issue. It is a criminal, it's a criminal issue. I mean, there was a fight with a knife, but there's other issues that caused this to occur, and why was that happening? That's what I want to know.
Right. Well, like I said, I know you're not
agreeing with me. That's okay.
No. I'm just interested. I'm looking at the Facebook comments, and I'm interested for those who are commenting. How many of you actually saw the video? And if you saw the video, then I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. And if you haven't, I'd like to hear that too, because again, this is about, I have daughters, you have daughters, and kids get into fights. And don't tell me that, children, when they, teenagers fight, that it doesn't end up in murder. Because we're in Philadelphia. A lot of children, teenagers were murdered last year. Of the 499, a lot of them were teenagers. Mm-hmm. And there are parents who on the other side say, where were the police to save my child?
Sure. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm just saying I'm asking the question, what happened long before we ever got to the place that these children were shooting or stabbing or doing anything? Where do we fail them along that line? And how do we go back and fix that as well?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, how did she get in foster care?
Absolutely.
Where
that
are
was
her
my
parents?
first question. That was my first question.
All of that is, first of all, and again, it is a horrific story. A 16-year-old, I'm sorry, we keep saying 15, that was the original reporting. 16-year-old is dead. And, given the opportunity to have addressed this in a different way, perhaps that would not have happened. And, whatever issues, and again, we don't know anything. We don't know, maybe these girls were there attacking her and she's defending herself. I mean, we don't know any of this. But when you're in the heat of something and there's rage going, you don't even notice that cops are around or anybody else, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, let me just stop for a moment and let's get the success, because you're teens. And as teenagers, we've all, been there before. But I think, again, this speaks to the larger question of public safety. And that is the bigger question about what's next. So is George Floyd, in the case in Minnesota, this conviction yesterday, is this a transformational moment, or was this just transactional? Was this just a jury saying, look, man, A, we don't be responsible for the nation burning up again. B, Derek Chauvin ain't worth it. Toss him to the masses, right. And then let them just calm down. And sorry, you shouldn't have done it, and you shouldn't have got caught on camera, but we're not going to give you a lifeline in this moment. So is it just that, or is this going to lead to new ways in which we understand policing? I maintain repeatedly that there are probably only 20% of the calls that cops receive that require an armed response. I passed a car accident yesterday, a fender bender. Why are there 2 armed police officers there taking the report? You introduce guns into a moment that doesn't need guns. Can't there be a public safety official who shows up to give an official report, write a statement that doesn't need a gun? Do you need a cop with a gun to show up when your house has been robbed and you just want to make a report? I mean, there are a lot of things that police do that don't require people with guns. We have the assumption that even with traffic stops, that you need a gun. You don't need a gun to write a ticket for a red light or speeding. And if they run away, take a picture of it, because apparently y'all can do that anyway and give us tickets, whether we were in the car or not. And the person who owns the car is going to have to pay the ticket, right?
Well, if you live down in Maryland, they have cameras. They don't have cops doing it for you.
In Philadelphia, red light cameras are now, speeding cameras are now all up and down Roosevelt Boulevard. Right. Red light cameras are all up and down the boulevard. And so, there are ways in which a lot of the things that police used to do can be done, and that if we can begin to decrease the number of armed police that we have to have and let them deal with these more serious crimes, then I think we begin to change. But again, we can't fix it all in this segment. We got to take a break. We're overtime. It's 6:42 in the morning. When we come back, we'll and related stories. This is the Power Hour.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars. Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
I greet you, our community partners for peace. My name is Pastor Bernetta Santerful. I am from Mothers in Charge. I understand firsthand the unbearable pain of losing a child to gun violence. So as we face these uncertain and difficult times, we urge you, Mom, we urge you, Dad, we urge you, community of Philadelphia, please speak to your children, speak to our youth, not to respond with violence, but to respond with peace. Mothers in Charge, 215-228-1718.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. The next book for May is Living in Color by Tommy Davidson. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it. Tuesday, May 11th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color.
Now, a traffic update
on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Mattress Firms. The volume picks up on 295 northbound, a 42 right lane block without emergency work. 55 northbound Deptford into 42 a bit busy. 95 southbound the Lace Common through Bridge. Heavy Allegheny through Girard. Northbound not bad. Westbound Vine Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. A bit slow there. Schuylkill itself east and westbound. No major issues as of yet. Save up to $300 on top rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's, a Mattress Firm right now. And you can get a free adjustable base when you spend $6.99 or more to elevate your sleep every night. Save big, sleep better. Shop the semi-annual sale now. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Sunshine this morning, storms this afternoon, and the potential for severe weather. During the morning, sunshine will warm us into the upper 60s, but clouds build late this morning, and showers and thunderstorms sweep through with a fast-moving cold front early this afternoon. By late this afternoon, we're clearing out, and gusty winds bringing in colder air for tonight. 70 degrees the high temperature this afternoon. By tomorrow morning, with gusty winds, 35 degrees will feel like it's in the 20s. A blustery day Thursday with a high of 51, combination of sunshine and clouds. Breezy Friday, but lots of sunshine, a morning low of 39, up to 67 Friday afternoon. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We have been talking about the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial, also addressing the issues of the shooting in Columbus, Ohio yesterday afternoon. I am curious, Rev, help me, you have been for a very long time addressing issues around criminal justice here in Philadelphia. You have there was a big town hall meeting several years ago, shortly after Mayor Kenney was elected, around ending stop and frisk that was held at New Vision United Methodist Church down on Broad Street. Hundreds of people, the place was packed. Hundreds of people attended. It was actually broadcast live here. You've worked on issues around stop and frisk. You've talked about policing reform. The big piece that, I know you're working on and the whole Live Free team is working on right now is CPOC, which is the Civilian Police Oversight Commission. How do we get to the place, and how is power helping us get to a place where there's enough oversight that police will not do what they did to George Floyd or to the many others that were completely unnecessary to address by killing somebody?
Yeah, well, so listen, first of all, as I continue to maintain, you have to have civilian control, citizens control of the police department. So what happened in November, the vote that many of us participated in the national election on the local ballot measure in Philadelphia, allowed for the creation of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission, CPOC. It will replace the PAC, which was the Police Advisory Commission, which never really had much power. That was started as an executive order by one of the mayors back in the day, and various mayors gave it different kind of powers, but it was executive order. CPOC actually has the potential of having teeth. It has to go through now the rigorous process of city council, hammering out its responsibilities, who will be on it, the budget that it'll have, the powers that it'll have. Now, this is a first step, but it's meaningful. It took a home rule charter to get here, but we have to keep pushing. I mean, eventually what I would love to see is a police oversight commission that is like a powerful school board in a regular city, not Philadelphia, because we don't have a powerful school board. But in a lot of cities, school boards have the ability to raise their own money, to levy taxes, and to set policy, to hire and to fire and to oversee all of that. We cannot leave it in the hands of elected officials. Now, let me tell you, before you get to any of the other stuff about CPOC, the biggest fight that we have, first and foremost, is not the budget, it's not the responsibilities, but it is about who will serve as the initial commissioners. The proposal is that the mayor, of all people, because this law was to take the police oversight from the mayor's office, and yet this new proposal is that there will be 5 people nominated to a selection panel that will go out and recruit and bring in potential commissioners for city council to approve. Two of those people on the 5-person selection panel will be selected by the mayor, 3 by city council. We believe that panel should either be elected or, picked by the Public Safety Committee, which actually they have really been on top of this. I'm going to tell you, Public Safety Committee on council, regardless of some of the issues we may have had with some of them on other issues, they are on top of this. But if you take this panel and you get those 5 people from the mayor and the majority of this city council, you are going to get people who are going to bring you back commissioners who are, even if you give them money, even if you give them power, they are not going to be the kind of people that, in my opinion, will represent this community in the right way. So the very first fight is to get the right people on the selection panel to find us the right commissioners to begin with. If you lose that, then I don't care what else you do. Because tell me if anybody has confidence in the old SRC.
Question is, do people have confidence in the current Board of Education, the school board either?
Yeah, and no shade on them, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, well, a lot of the activists are people who felt like they fought on education issues and who should have been there, because the mayor chose the selection panel for the school board, who then brought him names back, and then he picked names from the panel that he picked in the first place. I mean, it's like circular logic that doesn't work. We have got to, I'm telling you, our future is at stake. And this is not their police force. It's our police force. City council and the mayor does not have a budget to pay. That's our money. That's our force. And we have an absolute right to say who controls and governs them. And elected officials in this case have failed us repeatedly.
Wow. And so I hear that about the selection process of the commissioners for the CPOC, the Civilian Police Oversight Commission. I mean, one of the questions, though, and you've talked about this before with the Police Accountability Board, was how much power will the CPOC actually have to investigate and then, even refer to prosecution those officers that are found negligent or irresponsible in their duties?
Well, so again, right now, shout out to Curtis Jones, Councilmember Jones. So Power, we did a series of town halls. You can check them out on Power Interfaith's Facebook page from back in the summer. We did 8 town halls around police oversight. We brought experts in from around the country to, first of all, explain the history of how we even got here, and then to talk about various ideas. We heard from Chicago, from Oakland, from San Francisco, from New Orleans. We heard from a range of people along with local experts. So we got a great idea about what works. Mankier Bradford Gray, before she left as the public defender, her department came with some amazing recommendations. The current members of the PAC, the staff, have, like Hans Minos, the former executive director, and Anthony Arache, the current interim executive director. They have a ton of great ideas. But again, what does it matter? If you have a board and a commission that micromanages and is working at the behest of electeds who are trying to, get reelected themselves, or worse, working for the FOP because of donations they've taken.
Well, let's do this real quick because we only have like a minute left. I mean, the mayor in this current budget proposed doubling the budget from $900,000 to $1.8 million. But what does it really take to run that department right, and how much money is necessary to make that work?
You're going to need, so Internal Affairs right now receives $24 to $25 million a year. We need at least the same amount of money, and eventually this should replace Internal Affairs. Well, there's some things that Internal Affairs would still need to do, but by and large, this would take on a lot of those responsibilities. You need at least $20+ million. The mayor's current budget has written in $900,000.
Okay, I thought it was 1.8. It was only 900,000.
No. City Council is saying they want 1.8. The mayor, I think, his budget said 900,000. But either way, neither of those numbers are sufficient. There's no way that you can do adequate police oversight in this city with a budget of $700+ million for the cops, 6,500 police officers at a tune of $1 or $2 million. You need at least $20+ million.
Wow. And so is there a plan to get to that 20 million?
Well, yeah, I mean, the plan is you got to continue to push, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just have to keep pushing. And so there will be a public hearing the day before the election. I think May 17th, that Monday, is the first CPOC public hearing. Mm-hmm. We'll continue to talk about it. We'll lift it up and bring people on. But I just want you to know that the fight, the real fight right now is in the creation. Mm-hmm. If you create the right mechanism from the beginning, it will grow to be the right thing in the end. If it is, somehow tainted in the beginning, it is never going to be what we want it to be. City Council wants to control it, and when I say the CPOC needs to be elected, they tell me, well, an election would just ruin it. I'm saying, but you got elected. Mayor, you got elected. So somehow you got elected and you're free of corruption, but this body can't get elected free of corruption? Explain that to me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, that's it for the Power Hour today. Thank you all for joining us in the various ways that you do, whether it's on the air, through the app, through YouTube, through Facebook. Thank you, everybody that's been commenting on the whole show today. Thank you, Koisa, for holding down the boards. Dr. Tyler, for doing everything you do each and every morning as we bring the show to our listeners. Listen, stay tuned for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. And family, do us a favor. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Wait, I'ma show